My name is Tomi Davies. I am passionate about all things tech. So tech-enabled agri, tech-enabled education, tech in health, you name it. If tech can do it, then, I'll put my hands up for it. And my role is president of the African Business Angel Network. So we look at seed and early stage funding through our networks across the continent of Africa. We've currently got about 60 groups in 23 countries. We are, as we speak, working with people in Tanzania for the Tanzanian Angel Investment Network, among others. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Hi, my name is Rebecca Enonchong. I'm here, I think, as my hat of Vice President and Treasurer of African Business Angels Network. I'm also a co-founder of the Cameroon Angels Network. And I'm passionate, obviously, about technology, entrepreneurship in Africa.
Thank you. Michael?
Good morning. Good morning. Everyone is sleeping. Good morning. Thank you very much. My name is Michael Oluwagbemi. My passion is innovation-driven job creation. I've worn several hats. I believe the one I'm wearing here today is that of Lofting Capital, one of the subsidiary companies of Lofting, a company I co-founded about 10 years ago to drive innovation across the continent. I used to be the AfriLabs board chair, and I also was one of the original conveners of the Lagos Angel Network, where we ultimately had Tomi Davies lead upon inception that was the original angel investment. Yes. So that was exciting times for us in Nigeria, bringing angel investment to be, and now we've officially graduated our godfather to the African Business Angel Network. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah. Rachel?
Thank you. Good morning. Greetings from the warm heart of Africa, Malawi. My name is Rachel. 5 years ago, I started Malawi's first innovation hub and incubator. It's called mHub. I'm passionate about building a generation of young innovators and entrepreneurs that can transcend from job seekers to job creators. Thank you.
Thank you. Shudhan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shudhan Kohli, founder of Grey Elephant Ventures. We are currently deploying early stage funding to East African tech startups. I've been doing that since the beginning of last year. Prior to Grey Elephant Ventures, I've been working for 8 years with startups in various capacities. I founded a startup out of Latin America that was dealing with responsible manufacturing and inclusive supply chains to help the fashion industry source more responsibly. I've also worn a hat as a management consultant in the healthcare space in the US. So I'm very passionate about using business solutions to solve fundamental human challenges.
Thank you. My name is Ahmed Bastawy, and I'm the managing director of IceAlex, which is an innovation hub based in Alexandria. And we also have created recently 3 sector-specific incubators. And we have a strong mandate in impact investment, and this is what I would love to bring to the conversation today as well. And it's really overwhelming to see this panel full of a wide range of, starting from angel investors to supporting organizations, to networks, to incubators and accelerators, but also VCs. So what are you looking for today? Shall we discuss the African startups, how we can make them ready for investment? Or we do it the other way around? How can we be ready for the African startups? Rebecca, I see you holding the mic.
No, well, I mean, just to get the conversation started. So I think that wearing both hats, I'm first a technology entrepreneur. And I'm also, on my other hat, as an angel investor. So, one of my other hats. So I've heard both stories, right? I've heard so many entrepreneurs talk about the difficulty in raising funding and finding people that will believe in them. And I've also seen investors saying that I can't find any startups to invest in. And what they're trying to say isn't that there aren't startups. They're specifically saying that I can invest in. And so getting those two components together, getting the startups not just investment ready, but the potential investors, and I think that's the key role of angel investors in Africa. We need Africans to invest in Africa. It's so difficult for somebody to come from a different outside environment and try to understand our context. And angel investors are very localized. You know, Lagos, they invest in Lagos, you know, and then they have Abuja that has its own angel network because they really understand the context of being an entrepreneur. And then you have the fact that most angel investors are either current or former entrepreneurs. So they really do understand what the entrepreneur is going through. They've walked those shoes, as Tomi was explaining yesterday. And so it's not just getting the startups investment ready. I think that's one of the role of the tech hubs that are all here. It's also getting the potential angel investors to speak the same language. And that's one thing we've been doing as ABAN, is going across the African continent to do master classes for angel investors. Because sometimes people have money, but the tech hubs have been busy for the last 8 years educating entrepreneurs on what is a term sheet, what is valuation, but nobody's told the investor community what those things are. And so sometimes the entrepreneurs are better tools than the potential local investors. And so we've had master classes in multiple countries across the continent. Tomi has been kind enough to travel and go to various angel communities and start educating. And we've seen such growth as a result. So I think that's part of the conversation. I think Tomi will announce an initiative later today in here on exactly, specifically what we're going to do to tie the hubs and the startup community, make closer ties with the investment community.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, is it mainly about the language that the investors are not mostly aware of when the entrepreneurs are speaking of, or it's the other way around? Or it's not really about the language, but a lot of other elements that we need to think of?
Yeah, well, I think it's a two-way street, right? I mean, there are two things that needs to happen. One, we need to recognize that we have a massive deficiency in our education system. I mean, the reason why tech hubs are critical is because they are standing in the gap. So the rise of tech hubs, that numbers keep ticking up, is because our education system is not getting our young people ready for the workplace or for starting their own businesses. So tech hubs stand in the gap. Now, once you recognize that, then you realize that technology hubs, like the ones represented largely in this conference, play a very critical role in ensuring entrepreneurs are ready for investment. As a result, investors, therefore, should make it a priority to latch on to these technology hubs. And I believe that is why what ABAN and Tomi Davies have been preaching about the need for synergies between the technology hubs and the angel investors, since they are, as it were, what we call intermediaries. They now play the role of intermediaries in the ecosystem because they are the ones that bring the entrepreneurs up to date. But now, let us take it a step back, because I want to connect all these to the theme of this conference, data and innovation in the age of data. We have to recognize something, that we've had 4 cycles of data, right? The first opportunity for data was largely missed by sub-Sahara Africa, maybe not so much by North Africa. You're talking about writing, the technology of writing. We largely, in sub-Sahara Africa, were countries that recorded things by oral tradition. So we never created data, even though we had a lot of information, right? And then we had a second phase, which was printing, which came about around the Industrial Revolution in the 1817 and 1800s. We largely missed out on that. That was while the rest of the world was industrializing, Africa was being colonized. So we largely missed out on driving that age of printing. And now we came to an age of the computer, the age of the digital age. We were just about getting independence. So we largely missed out on that cycle as well. We are playing catch up. However, we are now in this new age of data. Everybody's playing catch up. Africa is playing catch up. Europe is playing catch up. America is playing catch up. Everybody's playing catch up. So we can leapfrog. We can literally go into the data age and wait for the rest of the world and be the master of the data age. The data age is one that is not driven only by the digital technologies, but by data technology. That means we will not just create data, we will analyze data, create products for data, and leapfrog. That has to be driven by our investors. Yeah. And it has to be driven by our investors working hand in hand with our entrepreneurs who are also using the ops to leapfrog the limitations of our traditional education system. This is what I believe strongly.
Thanks, Michael. And thanks for bringing the topic that, and this is what I would like to bring, like Rachel, in the conversation as well. Do you see, like, as a manager for a hub, the hubs are playing a role between mediating between angel investors and startups? And do you see it easy, or like do you face difficulties dealing with angel investment networks, if you have any?
Thank you very much, Ahmed. So part of our work as an incubator and an innovation hub has been to be the bridge in between the investor network and the startups. Most of what we've done is to help and critique the business models of the startups, align them so that they are fit with the product market fit, that they've done the market assessments properly, and they have a go-to-market strategy, they have the proper financial models, because often when you meet most of these startups initially, they'll be throwing around numbers and figures that are actually skewed, not until you actually sit down and walk it through with them. Because most investors would want to invest in something that is pretty mature, and it is investment ready, as we're discussing here. The challenges we faced is that on the startups end, they're not very aware of what exactly it is that investors are looking for. But also on the investor side, there is no understanding of the context in which these entrepreneurs work in. And especially like in our context, we've realized that what most of the startups need is not just the money, but also the strategic and technical support from these investors to steer these businesses into more scalable and sustainable businesses. From our market perspective, we do not have an angel investor network. And so it would be good to actually partner with the likes of ABAN to come through and provide the sort of support that Rebecca was talking about in training local people how they can become investors. They need to understand how to manage the risk, how to mitigate, and also setting the benchmarks for how much it is that they can invest for what shareholding in some of these startups. That is not present like within the network in which we work on. So there are people who are interested, they come to our pitch nights, which happen every month. We've exposed over 106 entrepreneurs pitching their business ideas. But I think there's also a fear because there's a lack of understanding from an investor perspective of what it is that they need to do before they can actually invest in a startup. So it's actually extending invitation to the network of angel investors to actually come through our ecosystems and our networks to provide the training and awareness for the angel investors to invest in local startups.
Maybe the next ABAN summit would be in Malawi.
Sure, definitely.
Cool. Shudhan, like wearing the hat of a VC, like one of the topics that we have seen so often when a startup is graduating from an incubator, there is this kind of artificial valuation that is happening. They sometimes might not be generating revenues, but they have that artificial valuation that was basically created because the incubator took that share against that amount of money that they put in. So do you prefer as a VC taking a startup that is graduating from an incubator accelerator or like coming from wherever in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so I'll answer that question. I'll add a little bit more to what was addressed earlier. I totally agree with everything that was said, especially in the realm of increasing the participation of local angels in this ecosystem. Okay. First off, not all angels are the same, right? So just as every startup must be very specific with a customer segment they're serving, similarly, they must know which angel would understand their model and would be most interested in what they're doing or being able to impact it, right? So the approach that we took at Grey Elephant Ventures, my partner and I have a background in distribution and logistics. So our first investments have been in tech-enabled logistics solutions in East Africa, right? Which is more familiar, and we're coming in at an early enough level where we want to be able to impact this investment better. If you came to me with a healthcare startup, I wouldn't be able to impact it as much. So I think really segmenting the angels and targeting the ones that are the best fit for you. And then secondly, to add to what you were talking about, the opportunity we have right now. As a continent, we're at the forefront of climactic challenges, a youth population that's in need of opportunities in a place that doesn't have enough access to healthcare or healthcare or education. And we have the potential to be pretty much the breadbasket of the planet, right? And we are also at a place in our technology where we can solve pretty much most fundamental human challenges. So we're at a point where we could be the center of human-centric technologies here in Africa, and it's really up to us to grasp that, right? So to add to your question about valuations, so we generally like to leave the valuations at a Series A level, and we go in with convertible notes, and generally we pay more attention to what we see in the market in terms of valuations rather than what has been fixed by previous partners on the startups. So,
thank you for that. I think I'll open the round for the audience, like to throw some questions to our panelists. Sorry? I will get back after the thing. So we will have like a quick round from the audience, and then we will continue like our conversation together. But like let's engage like some questions. Do you have any questions like what is missing for like the African ecosystem? Any questions? Like.
My name is Titus Maina from Nairobi, Kenya, and Sidel Foundation. So I wanted to find out, do you think the hubs are doing enough to make sure these startups are investor ready? So we've conducted research back in Nairobi, and we've realized that most of these hubs are not preparing the startups to be investment ready. So their financials are not right, their marketing is not right, their legal is not right, their corporate governance is not right. So do you think there's space for us as a development organization to set up projects to try and make sure these startups are investment ready? Thank you.
One more question.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Takunda from the Tech Village, Zimbabwe. My question is on the establishment of an investment framework for all the ecosystems across Africa. I mean, we're talking about being a network of hubs and an entire ecosystem, right? But because we have different legal systems, financial systems based on who colonized who, is it possible to create a like a universal or an applicable investment framework that can be applied in the different networks. Because, like for example, in Zimbabwe, we don't have an angel investor network, and we do want to set one up. But then the thing is, we want it to be in a way that we can get investors from Nigeria or from Kenya or from anywhere else to be able to invest in these startups, and not for startups to be having to figure out things based on the different countries. So is it possible?
Thank you. One last question. All right.
Okay, my name is Daniel Chinagozi, Innovation Growth Hub in Nigeria. Now, I'm asking for Lofty Heights and ABAN. In your own terms, when, and then, I didn't get the name again. In your own terms, when is a startup said to be investment ready? In the terms of what you are doing, when do you say a startup is investment ready? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
I'm going to let Tomi take this, because I think that what we're trying to do between AfriLabs and ABAN will actually answer most of these questions. So,
yeah, that's why we have this panel as well.
Could
you answer that, and also maybe bringing your angel investment background in that aspect, especially that Shudhan was bringing the VC background in that. And I know that sometimes there are some differences.
Sometimes?
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay.
I was trying to put it politically.
All right. Are you guys ready to go to school? Get your notepads out and get your pen out. Okay? How many people here are running hubs? Okay. How many people are startups? All right. To those of you who don't fall into those two categories, how many people are investors? The rest of you, I'm sorry, this is not for you, because I am only speaking to startups, I'm speaking to investors, and I'm speaking to hubs. The reason we're here is because an entrepreneur sees a problem or an opportunity in the market and has a vision. That's the starting point. Okay? Let's not mince any words, whether it is health, education, logistics, whatever it is, there is a problem or an opportunity, and you have a vision on how to commercially solve that. Impact may come with it, or it may not. But the critical thing is there is a vision to solve a problem or take advantage of an opportunity. That's the first and most fundamental thing. Now, the question of this panel is, when do you get a startup investment ready? My question is, investment ready for who? Because, like I said to you, an angel investor, everybody gets lost in investment. Investing cash is one of three things that an angel investor does. If they're not doing all three, then they're either just an investor if they give you cash, or they're a mentor or advisor if they give you mentoring or advice. They've got to do those two things and then connect you to their business network to qualify as an angel investor. But let's answer the question of investment readiness. There are, at least by my notes here, 7 different categories you have to think about. Okay? Whether you're a startup, you're an investor, or you're a hub. Let me run through them very quickly so that you understand the context of the announcement that we are making about ABAN working together with AfriLabs. The first is, what exactly is your proposition? What is the value you are creating that people are going to put their hands in their pocket and pay you money for? Which customer? Is it young, old, boy, girl, man, woman, rural, urban? You've got to understand what is of value to the customer, and that's why we say it all begins with the customer. So that's sort of the first category. The second thing you've got to look at is, what is the product or service that they are buying from you? How is that created? How is that generated? Once you know that, you move on to the third one. What is the market? How big are they really? Is it just 5 people or is it 500,000 people? I was just reading just last night, we've been making a lot of noise in my home country, Nigeria, about our mobile. Every slide deck I see says we have 100 million people using mobile phones. Guess what? There isn't a single Nigerian app that's got more than 5 million users. So when you talk about the market, you need to understand how big is this market, potentially speaking, what am I going to do about it? Once you've done that, you've got your proposition locked down. But that's not just it. That's nice, I now understand the proposition. The next question becomes, who exactly is going to create this value? Who's going to deliver it? The team. How strong is the team? What have they done before? Have they done it together? Have they done it apart? Where are they going? Do they share the vision that we talked about earlier? So you need to understand the team and the team's organization in terms of the processes they're going to use, the procedures they're going to use, the methods they're going to use, if they're going to use technology. Now, how do they scale? Is it going to be one guy that's hiring 500 people, or is it going to be 3 people that have 3 divisions? You've got to also get that in mind right from the start. When you get all of those in place, then you can start to look at your business model. How do you make money? Okay? What's coming in? What's going out in terms of expenses? All of those combined are leading to the final thing, which is, if as an investor, you, as the founder, are the first investor, everybody misses that. And that's why I asked the question, investment ready for who? The first investor in any business must always be the founder. Remembering, investment can be codified in time. So if you've not invested, why should anybody else? Then, of course, we talk about your family and we talk about your friends. Oh, and as I'm being reminded, there are also some fools. Okay? Where do they get their money back? It's called an exit for some. Okay? And when I say exit, I don't mean sale. In Africa, we talk about gazelles. That is people giving you annuity revenue as dividends, for example, as a way of returning your investment. Not necessarily I've sold the company and I've made $500 million. So those are the 7 categories. In case you missed them, it's in a framework I call POEM. So you write a poem for your business: proposition, organization, economics, and milestones. But here are the 7 categories and why they're important. I will read them out to you. I wrote them down, actually. First is the problem and the vision. Second is the value proposition. Third is the product. Fourth is the market. Fifth is the team. Sixth, scale. Seventh, your business model. And eighth is exit. I added problem and vision as number 1. Those are the 8 things that get you investment ready.
Thanks a lot, Tomi, for that, actually. I see that very interesting to see these 8 were like elements in that. However, like I have a different point of view, especially in the early stage, that there is a saying that having a great business model is nothing if you don't have a very strong team. So I would open up this question, like, do you really consider the team one of the 8 elements, or you give it another weight when judging or selecting startups?
Yeah. I will approach this panel from a venture capital point of view, since we set off raising a venture capital fund focused on early stage earlier this year. Given our own experience, we had helped found an angel network, and we had done a number of angel investments and had a pilot angel fund that had done quite well, even had some exits. But we realized very quickly that in order for us to sustainably support entrepreneurs through the life cycle of their growth, we needed to have a ready set of fund as a set-aside to be able to invest in them in follow-on rounds. Also to ensure to maximize the return to local investors. Otherwise, we realized that we were doing all the work, and then the large VC funds who are foreign come in and they cherry-pick the best, and they leave us with the crap. So that's very difficult for us to sustain our work as an accelerator without having a fund. So I would say, in addition to every accelerator and incubator here today thinking very hard about building an angel network, I can't say that enough. In our evolution, we opened the Innovation Hub in 2010, and by 2013, we're working with the Lagos Angel Network. So if you're 3 years old, it's very important that in your city, you start working with ABAN, first, to do investor education, 2, to set similar standards among incubators in that ecosystem, such that you guys can begin to feed a pipeline of investment-ready companies to your angel investors and beginning to experience events. What we call events when it comes to investment, now we're talking about investment events, not this event, but an activity of investment. That's very critical. But it's also critical in your long-term milestone or your long-term roadmap as an incubator, as accelerator, to start thinking about setting up your own fund. I'm just putting it out here. You need to start thinking about that. Now, back to the point I was about to make. From a VC perspective, the most important element when you're making an investment is the team. In fact, from experience, you're more likely to have repeat investments in a team that you've already invested in and then moved on to create other products. This is true for even the big Greystone partners, the guys in the Silicon Valley. If you look at it, they call it's almost like an entrepreneur course. You keep going after the same group of entrepreneurs over and over again. That is because team is the most important element of the investment process. And the elements of the team that is important, and I'm sure this is, Tomi and I had this conversation when we were coming, it's not technology, it's not even their technical knowledge, it's not even their market knowledge. Interesting enough, like what Warren Buffett said, it's that C that oftentimes we miss, is the character. It's not the competence, it's not the capability, it's the character that often matters. So when I look at entrepreneurs, I look at them in 4 frameworks when they come with their team. Of course, Innovation Hub, we emphasize the collaborative influence of entrepreneurship. So I like to see entrepreneurs in a team. But I look at them in 4 frameworks of C. Do you have the competence? That's the first. If you don't have a competence, of course, we don't have a discussion. Do you have the capability? That means do you have the stamina? Can you go far? Can I drive you? Can you work 18, 19, 20-hour days? Is your health, is it okay? That's very important to me. I've had entrepreneurs break down, have psychological problems after we've invested, and everything went down to 0. So your health, I want to know your health record. I want to know whether you are sane 20 hours of the day versus, we all have our 1 hour of insanity. That's fine too, right? And then I want to know the third C, which is courage. You see, entrepreneurship is hard. When the going gets tough, will the tough get going? Do you have the courage to fire your entire team? Yes, sometimes you have to do it. You have the courage to even tell me, the investor, to my face, that what you are telling me to do will not work. And if it takes me giving you back your money and going off the street, I will do it myself. An entrepreneur must have courage. But last, and in fact the most important, an entrepreneur must have character. You must have integrity. Your word must be your bond. When I talk to you and we have a gentleman handshake that you're going to do this at the board meeting, then it has to get done, or you have to inform me prior to that meeting, the next meeting, why it didn't get done. You must report, you must engage, you must take advice, you must learn, you must be ready to unlearn. These are very critical attributes of the entrepreneur and the team.
Cool, thank you. Shudhan, do you agree with that? And if you agree, I know that you have been working in Silicon Valley or like in your ventures as well. So do you see any differences in the characteristics of the entrepreneurs working there and the entrepreneurs over here? And should it be like an imitation to the characteristics to attract venture capitalists or not really?
Yeah, so just to clarify, we don't have any background from the Silicon Valley. We've built our background in investing from Kenya. All our capital is sourced locally from Kenyan business executives. And yes, our background is in distribution and
So
within the
mainly
East
local.
African. Exactly, correct, yeah. And I couldn't state it better. I think you laid it out just absolutely spot on. You nailed it about the team and the entrepreneur and the attributes for success. I think the area that I would like to elaborate a little bit on and build on what you were saying on the education system is a little bit about the visions we're seeing coming out of this ecosystem right now, right? So the obvious conversation in East Africa, at least, is about the funding going to more expat-led ventures, right? And that's not a new subject by any means to anyone. And I think I don't see much conversation about that potentially pointing in the direction of our education systems and what kind of visions our entrepreneurs are truly pursuing, right? So. Maybe we need to be very clear about are we tradesmen or are we entrepreneurs? Are you going to create a vertical and dominate it, or are you going to be grabbing a portion of the pie of the market share? Either is fine, right? Like, we only talk about VC funding, but you could bootstrap your venture and run an excellent business. And why don't we talk enough about that? Or maybe have one or two angels on board, some strategic capital, and build a company that builds some excellent dividends for yourself. So I think getting very clear with our visions early on the trajectory of your company is something that we should explore a little bit more.
Thank you so much. Rebecca, wearing the different hats of VC for Africa, AfriLabs, and ABAN, how might we put impact in investment, if we shall?
Well, I think that because I have those hats, I saw an opportunity. We saw an opportunity to collaborate because we've realized that as we saw the growth in the tech hubs initially between 2010, especially 2010 to 2016, and we realized that we're getting all these hubs supporting entrepreneurs, but the money, where's the money? And so we decided to put our money where our mouth was. You say you support African technology entrepreneurs. Where's your money? And startups have to remember that angel investors are using their own money. Venture capitalists are raising money from other people, right? So they almost work for their investors. We're using our own money. And let me tell you that the money that I made through my blood, sweat, and tears, if you want that, I want to see blood, sweat, and tears. There's nobody is entitled to angel investment. Nobody is entitled to my money. You are going to work before I will invest, personally. But again, seeing the opportunity and seeing that, as we grew the hubs, the investment didn't grow along with it. And so ABAN, which I'm also a co-founder of, decided that what was really important is that we raise the capacity for early stage investment by Africans into Africans. And so we decided that we would create a vehicle to make the synergies between ABAN, which is a network of angel networks, and AfriLabs, which is a network of hubs. And I'm going to let Tomi describe the vehicle itself.
Thank you so much. Actually, I want to move to the incubators and accelerators side. So, Rachel, how do you guarantee that the money, the personal money that is being put by angel investors is in a safe place? So how do you prepare your startups for that?
Yeah, I think, like Rebecca said, it's important that, because she's swayed for their money, the startups also need to put in as enough effort so that they can produce the required results. What I see is an opportunity that exists for what hubs can do and provide as a service to angel investors, which is to conduct due diligence in going through those 7, 8 criteria that you highlighted, looking at the value proposition, whether it's a product market fit, whether there's a market, the financial model, the scalability. I believe those elements could actually be done by the hubs in conducting the due diligence and taking away that pain from the angel investor to bring comfort and some credibility, because the hubs incubate these entrepreneurs, these startups, and they know them very well. So we need more collaboration in understanding what the angel investors are looking for, their interest in what sort of value propositions make sense for them to invest in. And as hubs and incubators, we're ready to conduct that due diligence for the investors to invest. And maybe it can become a revenue stream for us as hubs as well. So you pay us to do that.
So I see a proposal over here, and even a check is getting ready, or maybe? So watching the time, time is running out.
Yeah, well,
but, I would love to have final key remarks on good practices as well.
We actually have an announcement we've been dying to make.
I would love to have that exclusive announcement here.
And which we will use as the closing, which answers this.
So guys, you have to prepare your tweets for that.
The Africa Business Angel Network and AfriLabs are happy to announce a collaboration which will use the Village Capital Viral Framework as the basis of our collaboration.
Woohoo!
The 8 points, the 8 categories that I identified earlier are from that framework, and you will find, as Michael has said, that team is the first category. The other 8 I will leave to you to find out, but we will be using this as the basis of the conversation between angel networks and hubs, where our expectation is that angels will work directly with hubs as the mechanism for engaging with startups. We are also encouraging all policymakers to look at providing funding to invest in innovation hubs directly so that they can co-invest alongside angels and reap the benefits of investing in startups. Thank you.
Thanks, Tomi, so much. And thanks for the exclusive announcement as well.
Yeah, and as part of that announcement, I'm happy to tell my Cameroon delegation that the pilot will be for Cameroon. So ABAN has the funds that we will co-invest with the local angel investors, working with the Active Spaces Hub in identifying the startups that will receive this co-investment. So ABAN will match the investment from the angels into startups that are incubated at Active Spaces. So this is, just an example of how this relationship is concrete, will actually work. And so, yeah, so I'm very excited about that.
Where are the Cameroonians?
Where?
Thank you.
There's a lot of them here.
Oh, come on. I'm that too.
That's what I'm saying. No, I think I'm excited about the opportunity to bring this full circle. I think when you have angel investment communities grow up around your ecosystem, that ecosystem comes alive. Folks talk about the Yabacon Valley and the revolution that took place in Lagos. If you look at it, it was once we introduced the angel investment concept, everything took off. And in Nigeria now, we are working for the Ibadan Angel Network as well as the Abuja Angel Network. They're now in advanced phases of taking off. I hope very soon ABBA will also be joining to start up. ABAN, please, can you stand up, please? ABAN has a unique ecosystem. There is a city that is made up, the only people that live in that city are entrepreneurs. Everybody in that city is an entrepreneur, and everybody is rich. So if you want to meet a rich man, I already just pointed him out to you. You can see him on your way out. He's from one of the richest cities in Nigeria, and it's a natural city for angel investment. And I think this is the case across Africa. I mean, I've gone to Ghana, gone to Senegal. This money is local and it's available. Work with ABAN. Let us all speak out from the same page. At the Innovation Hub, we already use the village capital model. So if a Innovation Hub company wants to talk, yeah, we also have an angel network. If a Innovation Hub company wants to talk to ABAN today, they are speaking from the same page. So once we adopt this standard across the network, I think it will make it really easy for investors to key in, and then all we need to worry about is bringing in more investors, and you going to start your own venture capital fund to even reap more benefits from the ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michael. Rachel? So what do you have as a key remark you want to close with?
Yeah, no, I'm very happy that my proposal got answered spot on. Telepathy, that's what ABAN and AfriLabs have been thinking of. I think as tech hubs and other innovation hubs, we're keen to see this in motion. Previously, we'd seen a lot of investors coming in just to directly link up with the startups. That would spoil relationships between hubs and angel investors. This makes it a more structured approach. And so we're looking forward to leveraging this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Shudhan.
Yeah, so quite briefly, I would say that this is probably the most exciting time it's been to start a business in Africa right now, with visionaries like Tomi and Rebecca laying out the foundation of leveraging local capital and the work of AfriLabs and just the sheer breadth of opportunities we have today on the continent to truly make a difference and build value for ourselves and our communities. I can't see why this is not the best time to be a startup entrepreneur. So.
Thank you so much for your great conversations and like the great announcement as well. And like celebrating the announcement, I have like two things. May I invite you for a selfie with our audience? Yeah, please, a selfie with our audience. I tell you the second one after the selfie. So let's take it. Yeah, Michael, you should take the selfie actually.